Hey guys, Dan at Archery Country. Today we're going to be doing some safety tips regarding crossbows that Archery Country sells. We have a couple different styles here. I have a Raven, which is going to be an internal crank system. I have a Wicked Ridge and then also a Mission Sub 1. And they're all a little bit different on how you crank them back and how you shoot them. So we're just going to kind of go through each of the steps and kind of go from there. So the first one I have here is going to be a Raven R10. This is going to be kind of their base model, but it's a really good seller for Archery Country. And like I said, I'm just going to start off on how to crank it back and we'll kind of go from there. So first thing, you're going to take your crank handle, which is going to be built right into the quiver bracket right up front here. You're going to release this sled right here, which is going to be an internal sled on the Ravens. So we're just going to crank it a hair, and there's actually a little push button right here that's built right into the stock. So we're just going to crank it a hair. We're going to release the crank handle. The sled is going to snap onto the string, just like that, until you hear it click. You're going to insert your crank handle here, and then you're going to crank it all the way back until you don't hear that click anymore. The nice thing about the Ravens is there is an internal clutch built into it, so you cannot over crank it. It doesn't do any harm to give it an extra half crank. And then we're gonna go from this one to the Wicked Ridge and then the Mission. Hey guys, the next one's gonna be a Wicked Ridge Rampage 360. It's actually a really nice shooting bow for the money. The nice thing is there's going to be an internal crank system built into it, very similar to the Raven. The only difference with this one is it's a little bit trickier on removing the claw from basically the trigger box. So how it works is you're going to remove your crank handle, built right into the stock. There is going to be an engage, disengage lever right here. So you want to disengage the lever, which is going to retract the claw from the stock. You're going to hook it onto your string. Now also make sure that there's two little tabs right here to make sure that the claw is going to be attached onto the string. You don't want to make sure that you don't have one side hooked up and the other side not. So make sure that it's hooked up correctly. Insert your crank handle right into the AccuDraw system right here. You're going to engage. You're going to crank it all the way back. Now the key here is to watch your safety right here. You always want to make sure that your safety is going to be on fire on most crossbows. And always check with the manufacturer first before cranking back your crossbow. Always read the directions. So crank it all the way back. You're going to watch that safety, and when you see that safety, click onto safe. You do not want to crank back this system anymore. We're going to crank it all the way back. We just heard it go onto safety, and also I saw it go onto safety. So now I'm going to disengage. I'm going to slowly release pressure onto it. I just pulled the AccuDraw crank out. The rope here is slack, so now you're going to pull it away from your scope. Make sure not to hook it onto your scope, and then we're going to hook it right back into your stock here. And then we'll go to the next one. Next one that we have is going to be a Mission Sub 1 XR. Now Mission actually does offer a crank system for their crossbows, but we're just going to be using the rope cocker. So now this is going to be a very conventional device for cranking back most crossbows actually on the market. It's very fast, very simple. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hook onto your pulley system, which is going to be either on the back end, which is going to be like on the Missions, or actually some of them are going to be right in the front here by the trigger box. So we're going to hook it up. Now how the Missions work is you're actually going to have the cradle that hooks onto the string. You're actually going to want to be going down and then up instead of on top and then facing down. Again, look at your manufacturer, see what they recommend, but that's what works for a Mission. So now how you want to cock this back is you want to put pressure into if you have a stirrup. This one, it's an internal stirrup. Basically, you just put your foot right on the riser part here. You're going to grab onto it with your hands here. And what I like to do is actually cock it back with my back pretty much as far as I can go, and then finish out with my arms then. So we're going to be using your back and then finish out with your arms then. So very simple, very quiet, very fast. So we have the bows cocked back now. So now we're going to explain the correct nocks that you want to use depending on your manufacturer, and also how to correctly load. So we're going to start with the Raven, and then we'll go to the Mission. So the Raven's actually going to be using a nock system that actually snaps onto the string. While like the Wicked Ridge or the Mission is actually going to be a half moon. This is going to be very common. You're going to see these on 10 points, Barnett's, or like you said, Wicked Ridge or 10 points. So how to correctly load is we're going to start with our Raven R10. We want to be pointing the crossbow in a safe direction. Always know exactly what's behind your target to treat like a firearm. So we're going to be taking our bolt. We're going to go right through this little cage here. Again, this is going to be on the Raven. We're going to be doing odd vein down, and we're going to be grabbing onto the shaft here and then giving it a push until you hear it click into place. And then this one is pretty much ready to rock. What we're going to do is we're going to shoot it, and then we'll show you how to do the mission. The other thing too, on all crossbows, I'm just going to put this on safety. We're going to want to make sure to keep our fingers basically not in front of this rail here. If you have your thumb up too high here, you'll probably be missing your thumb or your fingers. So always keep your fingers below this little guard here. Again, we're gonna go fire here. We're gonna be pointing it down range, and then we're gonna shoot it. And then we'll do the mission next. We have the mission Sub 1 XR. So with the Raven, it's actually a knock system that snaps onto the string. It's a railless design. Basically, there's a rest in the front, and then you snap it onto the string. Now, the Mission or the Wicked Ridge is gonna be a little bit more conventional. Again, it's gonna be a rail. So actually the bolt's gonna be basically just gliding right on that rail. So again, we're gonna be doing odd vein facing down, and then you're gonna wanna push it all the way in until it stops. There's also gonna be a bolt sensor here. So you actually can't even dry fire most crossbows. It's gonna sense that the bolt's gonna be seated all the way back, and then you can fire it. So very simple system. We're just gonna make sure it's all the way back. We're gonna put it on fire, and then we're gonna shoot. All right, so now we're gonna be going over decocking and also discharging depending on what crossbow you have. So again, always look at your owner's manual. Each bow is gonna be entirely different on how you correctly do it. So always read that owner's manual. So with anything that's gonna be like this AccuDraw system where there's gonna be a claw that you attach onto the string, and once you get it all the way cocked back, you're gonna take it off away from the scope and hook it back into the stock. You cannot uncock this. So the correct way to do it would be discharging it. Now, depending on the manufacturer, they do offer sometimes discharge bolts, which are gonna be a heavier weighted front end. We personally do not recommend those. You could certainly use it, but use it up to your discretion, but we would not recommend that. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna discharge this into the target. Sometimes you can actually buy a little target mat that some companies actually sell where you can actually discharge it once you're done hunting. Again, you can use a target in the back of your car or those little discharge mats. So we're just gonna discharge the Wicked Ridge, and then we're also gonna show you how to safely uncock the Mission and then also the Raven. So always make sure that your crossbow is gonna be pointing down range, odd vein facing down. Make sure that it's seated all the way back. We're gonna put it onto fire, and then we're just gonna fire at the target down on the range here. And then we'll go to the Mission, and then we'll go from there. So the Mission Sub 1 XR, this one's a very slick crossbow because you can actually decock it in the field if you want to. There's actually a little release button right by the safety here. And how that works is once the bow is cocked back, and let's say you did not shoot anything, what you're gonna do is you're gonna safely point the bow at a correct target, and then you actually wanna pull the bolt directly facing out. You're gonna put the riser towards the floor. We're gonna hook up the cocking rope, hook it onto this cradle right on the back end here, hook it onto the string, put your foot right on the stirrup. You're gonna press this button, and you're gonna lift up, making sure to be using your arms and also your back. Pull up until you hear it click, and then you can actually safely let it down, nice and safe. All right, so we have the Raven R10. So right now we have this thing cocked back. We have the bolt inside of it. Let's say that you did go hunting and you did not shoot anything. What you wanna do is gonna be point the crossbow at your intended target, making sure that it is unsafe. Grab onto the bolt with your finger, pull directly straight out. And then what you wanna do is put the front end of the crossbow down like this. Now this is gonna be not really a tricky part on a Raven, but you can break the bow pretty easy if you do not do this correctly. So make sure to pay attention to this. So there is gonna be a thumb button right here. We did use this before when we released the catch onto the string when we loaded it. So what you wanna do is you wanna crank it just a hair, release this button, and hold on tight, and you're just gonna slowly uncock it. If you do let go of the handle, it will slam forward, it will break your crossbow. So just go slow. I always tell people too, if you're cold, you know, bring it inside. You know, the bow can stay cocked for 8 hours, so bring it inside, let your hands warm up. Do not do this with gloves on. Those are gonna be the two things that make it very easy for you to let go of this handle. But that's the correct way to uncock a Raven crossbow. Another tip too is making sure that when you are cocked back and you are hunting or even just target shooting, that you have enough room for this limb and cam to depress. So when you shoot, you wanna make sure that this is not butted up against a tree or else like a ground blind too. If you do that, if you have a tree limb really close to this, or like you said, a ground blind, and you shoot, you will damage your cam or your limb. So also do take that into consideration too. If you do have any questions, feel free to stop into the stores. If you do purchase a bow from us, we will help you from start to finish. So that's gonna be one of the big pros from buying at Archery Country. Otherwise, all these crossbows are available at archerycountry.com. Like and subscribe below and stay tuned.